Welcome to Career Coffee Chat Live. I'm your host, Erin Urban, certified career strategist and executive coach, helping driven, experienced professionals find more influence, impact, and income. And today, we're talking about that impact and influence with Tracy Timm. Now, Tracy Timm is an outstanding career coach. She is, in fact, the founder of the Nth Degree Career Academy and author of Unstoppable. Discover your true value, define your genius zone, and drive your dream career. Now today, thanks for tuning in to Career Coffee Chat Live. I'm very excited to talk to you about taking your career from stuck to unstoppable. And the train is about to show up here in lovely tiny town of Fayetteville, Texas, and emphasize whatever I have to say this morning. So if you are just tuning in, please say hi, say where you're from, say your name. Today we're live on LinkedIn and YouTube. And for those of you who would like to tune in from other channels, please know that no worries, this video will be put up live on those channels so you can tune in. So please say hi, say where you're from, and I'd love to give you a shout out this morning. Now, if you've never seen my smiling face before, my name is Erin Urban or Coachy Urban. You can find out more about me at coachyurban.com. And please don't forget the Career Coffee Chat podcast, which is also on all the major channels, including Apple, Spotify, and a whole bunch of things, even YouTube, and tons of other channels. So what are we going to talk about today? Well, for one thing, a lot of people are feeling stuck and they're not sure which career path is for them. And there's the train. If you are currently employed or if you're currently in transition, now is the ideal time to take charge of that career path and design your ideal career. So, tuning in from San Francisco, hi Kiki, lovely to see you. Also, someone tuning in from I never pronounce that right. Burn, Texas, I believe is how you pronounce that. Hi Gerald, lovely to see you from Cypress, Texas. Hugh from Tomball, Cornetia, always lovely to see you. Now, without further ado, I'd love to introduce you to Tracy Timm. Tracy, it's great to see you this morning.
Hey, Erin, you poor thing with that train. Oh my gosh, isn't that always the worst? For me, it's always the people who are like mowing the lawn. You're like, oh, really?
It's a fact of life here in Fayetteville, Texas. We do not have control over the train horn.
That is okay.
Emphasize point.
That's how you know it's a live show. These things don't happen anymore, you know? We scrap all that stuff out. So I'm super excited. We're going to have a lot of fun today.
Yes, we are. And Dewey's just tuning in. She's saying hi from Katie. So we've got quite a few people on today to hear what it takes to take your career from stuck to unstoppable. I'm really excited to hear all about it.
Yeah, I'm so excited to share with you guys. I have a book. It's like officially coming out a week from now. It launches the 29th. We're gonna do a party. We're gonna see. I got that from you, Erin. You were the one who said, "Don't have a launch party, girl.
Absolutely.
Celebrate." So we're having a launch party because of you. I'm so grateful for your confidence, your influence. Yeah.
Well, you know what? I'm authoring a book right now, which will, fingers crossed, come out for Christmas, so we can have a better 2021, and that's elevate your career, get more influence. And it's a lot of work. So you want to celebrate that book.
Yes, it is so true. Yeah. Writing a book is not for the faint of heart, you guys. If it's in you, it's got to get it out. But know what you're in for. It's a trip.
So speaking of knowing what you're in for, how many people do you work with that come to you and say, gosh, yeah, this is super not fulfilling anymore, my career path? And what's your personal story? Because I know you shared with me your background where you were feeling kind of stuck.
Kind of stuck is like the understatement of the century. Yeah. So my whole Genesis story, like a lot of entrepreneurs and probably frankly, like a lot of coaches, I had a problem that I didn't know how to solve and looked everywhere for a strategy, looked everywhere for a comprehensive step-by-step, like how to do this. Because I have the sense in life that most things have a strategy, right? If I want to bake a cake, I go look up a recipe. You know, if I want to hotwire my car, I'll go look up how to do that on YouTube. But like if you, well, by the way, don't hotwire cars. That's stealing. Well, I meant like jump my car.
And she hotwires cars on the side.
You know, you guys, it's Tuesday. It is what it is. No, but and those things in life have like a step-by-step process that you can go look up and then you can go do it. So it's really not insurmountable, right? The not knowing how to do it is really only as far away as finding the strategy. Okay. But when it comes to career clarity, if you weren't born knowing what you wanted to be when you were 7, then you're kind of SOL because there isn't a sort of universal tried and true, this is step 1, this is step 2, this is step 3, not to get a job, not to interview well, not to negotiate salary, but to know, just to know with clarity which job, right? What salary, what actually matters to me when it comes to career, you know, and what's ideal versus just something I can do because I'm a hard worker or I'm smart or I'm a fast learner. So that was my story, is I just didn't have my own answer. But I thought it was worth looking for. And so the long and short of it is that and we could go so much into detail of the beginning little pieces because it's actually a good story. But the reason that I do what I do now is I struggled through it. I wasted a lot of time. I wasted a lot of money. And by waste, I mean spent. Because I don't think any of it was really wasted, because when I looked back, I could see, wow, if I had only done these steps in a different order and maybe with a little more efficiency, it wouldn't have been that painful. You know, it's replicable. I could make a strategy out of this. And so that's what we teach now is, hey, if it feels so insurmountable to you to know what you want to be when you grow up, or to know where you want to level your career up to, or to know how to have, like you said, more impact, more influence, more income, then you have 2 problems, right? Because you don't know the thing, and you also don't know how to figure the thing out. So that's what we wanted to provide for people. And that's what my business does today. That's what the Nth Degree is. It's my humble attempt at a good universal strategy for clarity.
And she's being very humble because it's a very thorough process that's a lot of return on investment for her clients. And hello from Maldives. I know I'm pronouncing that wrong too. By the way, I have this habit of not pronouncing things right. And okay. I'm blaming my grandfather for that because he couldn't pronounce anything, and apparently I inherited it.
That's okay. The only one I can help you out with is Bernie. I know that Bernie, Texas is pronounced Bernie because I've been
Bernie, there we go.
But that's it. That's all I got. Terrible person. Anyway, thank you for tuning in. And as you have any questions as we go along throughout this conversation and what we're having to share, please do pop it in the comments. We will answer them. We will get to you because you are important to us. And I'm really glad to have you tuning in this morning on the Career Coffee Chat Show. So a little bit about the Nth Degree. Of course, you've got the book coming out, which is super exciting. We talk about a little bit of career clarity. Yeah, okay, so going from I have no idea to I have an idea, which, by the way, is absolutely critical for anything you want to do with your career, whether that's the more tactical side of just landing a new job. You have to know what that role is you're searching for. Otherwise, you're just spinning your wheels. And career growth. If, let's just say you're in a career path and you're like, I don't know where I want to go. Well, then you're not going to be able to express yourself in the area where you need to grow into. Exactly. And you're not going to be able to ask for the right type of professional development. You're not going to be able to connect with the right mentors. So knowing and having a very clear understanding of what your priorities are and what drives you, what your strength zones are, and that zone of genius, as you mentioned, is so incredibly important long term. So share us a little bit about, maybe there's a client story you'd like to share about someone who went from stuck to unstoppable. Oh my gosh. Yeah. Well, so the fun part about this to me is I've been in business for 6 years now. And so I feel like it's been a constant process of perfecting what I thought already worked well, if that makes sense. And then also gaining an even deeper understanding into our various client personas when I thought I had all that figured out. You know what I mean? And so what it turns out is that we serve actually kind of a spectrum of people, all of whom are seeking clarity, confidence, and certainty. Those are the three things. I want to feel clear about what I'm pursuing. I want to be able to articulate it confidently. And I want to have some semblance of certainty looking forward in my career, right? I don't want it to be this big black hole anymore. But that comes from a couple different experiences, like you said. So there was the me version, which is I'm miserably employed. Like I have a job. It's perfect on paper. Everyone tells me I should be grateful. I'm making stupid money, right? And I'm not getting bad reviews, but I'm not getting amazing reviews either. You know, that was me on Wall Street. I 2.5 years, this was my origin story. I with a psychology degree and all of 2 math credits to rub together from college, I got a job on Wall Street. It's a study in the ability to interview well and have a lot of confidence on the outside and inside being like, I don't know what I'm doing. And so anyway, that was me. And so by the end of it, you know, it was exactly like I said, I had most people's definition of success. I made 6 figures at 23 years old, which only 9% of Americans will ever achieve, which is just stupid. And I had all these things that people are like, don't let that, you know, don't look a gift horse in the mouth. Like don't let go of that gravy train. And I was a shell of myself. So we get that person who's like, the only reason that I'm staying here and the reason that I feel stuck is that I just don't know what I would go do instead. Right. But then we get all the way to the other end of the spectrum, which is somebody like you said, who has sort of woken up and looked around and been like, I didn't intend on getting here. Is it bad? Maybe not. But is it fulfilling? Is it meaningful? Is it impactful? Is it the best and highest use of my value? Definitely not. And then they look back and they're like, how did I had talked to this guy yesterday. He's like, I woke up and I'd been at this company for 6 years. He's like, how did that happen? How did I get so complacent? You know, how did, and I'm looking forward and I'm like, okay, great. Maybe I'll make money, you know, maybe I'll do, but like, what will I have to look back on, you know? And to you out there, my mind always thinks to the naysayer while I'm talking. I think it's a Yale thing. I think they just immediately teach you how to question everything, but like choose nothing, which is a little messed up. But anyway, we don't need to talk about that. So I'm always thinking to the naysayer. And if you're out there thinking, oh, that's a nice to have problem, that's a first world problem, that's a this or that, you might be right? Because sometimes we just have to do the needful, as my mom would say. Sometimes we just have to do what's necessary. But for the vast majority of us, especially here in the US, if you're watching this, you have options, you have choices. And for you to look at those varied options and choices and go, oh, I can't, I could never. Then you know what you're actually doing is you're kind of like spitting in the face of all those people that don't have any choices. You know, like that's what I think. It's like if you have an option, and this is my least favorite word of all time, but the privilege to pursue those options, it's almost like we owe it to ourselves and to the world and to everyone who doesn't to take advantage of them. So that's our spectrum of client, right? It's like we get the miserably employed, and then we get the people who are like, I want to level up and I want to do it with intention. And I want to finally be operating at a higher level and able to actually articulate that to someone else so that if I want Tuesdays off to be with my kids, I have a leg to stand on to negotiate for that, you know, or if I want to work remotely 100% of the time, which used to be something you had to ask for and people said no to, that, you know, that you have a reason for that being not only okay, but in service of you adding more value, if that makes sense. So, yeah, I'm constantly fascinated by how we're starting to get deeper and deeper into the psychology of the various people that we serve. And it's not just people who are miserably employed. It's the ones who are looking forward and going, wow, if I didn't get here with intention, what's going to happen in the next 5, 10, 20 years?
Right.
And do I want to just let that happen and be reactionary? Or could I take advantage of what's going on in the world right now, of this minuscule amount of white space that I've been given? Maybe you don't have a commute anymore. Maybe you got like nudged your kids into preschool and elementary school. Finally, you know, maybe whatever. And you have at least this much bandwidth to question, to be curious, to explore. Those are the people that are coming out of the woodwork right now and going, this is the right time to do this.
Right.
And you know what? They're winning because the rest of the world is pulling up the covers and going like, will you let me know when the dust settles, just let me know when everything's normal again.
Right.
But like I talked to this guy yesterday and he was like, finally, I feel like now is the right time. Like I've talked to my wife about it. We've made it our number one priority. I've been doing this for 6 years. Like this feels like the impetus that I needed to get up off my butt and like make a change. And it's really powerful. It's really powerful.
Yeah. So for those of you tuning in, where are you in your career? Are you miserably employed? Are you looking for that sense of fulfillment? What are you looking for? Where are you on that spectrum and that bandwidth? And what I'm interested to learn more about from you, Tracy, is for those people who want to up level.
Yeah.
Because, and one reason I'm not focusing on the miserably employed is this. In what I call a survive cycle. So you either have a thrive cycle or a survive cycle.
Like right now, systemically or like as a person?
And in general, as a culture.
Okay,
so right
got it.
Now,
Yeah.
As a society, we're in a survive cycle.
Sure.
In a survive cycle, sometimes you just need to take a job to pay the bills. and there is nothing wrong with understanding, okay, great. So I understand that this is a temporary solution and that there's a longer term path for me. So for those people who want to up level, what's maybe that first step that you would encourage them to take?
Okay, so this is my new favorite first step. I kind of just wrote this because I'm working with this growth company that encouraged me to have like, hey, if you could solve for your potential client, like someone who's like, I don't know if I want to work with her. I don't know if this is the right thing for me. If you could help them have one aha or one breakthrough and solve one problem for them that would actually get them closer to working with you, what would it be? And so it's kind of self-serving, but it also is just a good step one. I think you should do a career alignment score, meaning here's the background of this. So when we're in indecision, I think half the pain and worry and anxiety in the world is people living in limbo. Like, I don't know if I want to go this way or don't know if I want to go that way. And I'm just going to live in this like indecision for now and be like comfortable there. And it's really uncomfortable, right? Like you got to go left or right and then choose and own that decision. Otherwise you're just worrying about, am I going to go left or right? And that anxiety is hard to live with for a long period of time. So I think there are two things that you need to get off the proverbial fence, if you will. You need to have an emotional investment and a logical investment in going left or right. So emotionally and logically, should I stay? Emotionally and logically, should I leave? Or pursue something different, right? You don't have to leave right away. I think that's a huge misconception, by the way, that we should break down is that like, oh, if I'm considering a job change, I have to quit wholesale and go into all this other. No, there are a a lot of ways to do this creatively, right?
In fact, I recommend you don't do that.
I fully recommend you don't, but like, I feel like people think it's all black and white, Aaron, like they come to me and they're like, well, I'm going to have to take a salary cut and I'm going to have to do this. I'm going to have to start from scratch.
I don't know about you, but the vast majority of people I work through with
get raises.
You get raises. We leverage your expertise, and most importantly, we leverage your strengths. So when you do search for the job and you do go through the interview process, you're much more confident.
Preach, sister, preach. Because more people need to know this, right? Like transition does not equal demotion,
Right.
Exactly. So anyway, soapbox down. So step one, if you're thinking about it might be time to consider a change in your career. I like to do this sort of two-part career alignment. We call it your career alignment scorecard. So in my experience, the number one thing that creates misalignment or cognitive dissonance in a career, so like believing one thing and physically doing something else that creates anxiety, is misalignment with one's deep and true values. So if I value X about life, but my career makes me do Y, then that's a misalignment. And that creates a rift that is very hard to overcome. So this is like the classic, oh, I love my family, but I never get to go to my kids' recitals kind of stuff. Or it's, oh, I really deeply care about my faith, but my company makes, I don't know, my company invests in strip clubs and I just don't buy that. So it creates this misalignment, right? I don't know. I just went there. I'm sorry.
You're a deep environmentalist and you work oil and gas.
Thank you. That's a much more PG version of what I just said.
I really like yours though.
So anyway, so what I encourage people to do, because it's highly likely that you haven't done this in a long time, is figure out your values. So do the work it takes to actually have your top 5, top 10 core values. This is super simple. I like to do it I call it the 10, 20, 30 core values process. For 10 minutes, you want to brainstorm everything that comes to mind when you think of, what do I value? So what brings me joy? What matters to me? What is a meaningful life? Where do I feel my best? And just get it all out of your head, and don't judge it. It doesn't have to be this beautiful, virtuous word every time. Like the last time I did this, I wrote kitten cuddles and a bar that, where the bartender knows my name, so I feel like I belong, just things that make you feel joyful and make you feel like you're living in your values. Okay. And then for the next 20 minutes, you're just going to look at like a core values list. I like to go to corevalueslist.com. There are 500 words there, and just go through them one by one and circle or highlight or transfer the ones that resonate with you. Mm-hmm. So that at the end of 30 minutes, you've got this really robust list. It probably has 50, 100, 150, 200 words on it. The last 30 minutes of the hour, all you want to do is start grouping those words into categories, because it's highly likely if you've got 50 or 100 words that 10 of those words bundle up into one category, or 20 of those words bundle up into one category. And so at the end of 30 minutes, you want to name them and you want to put them in order. That's all sort of step one. Step two.
Corevalues.com, right?
Corevalueslist.com. Yeah.
Corevalues list.
Super simple. Mm-hmm. So that's step one, is figure out your values, put them in order, give them names. Step two is then just take your top 5. It doesn't need to be all 10 or all 7 or whatever. Just take your top 5 and write them down in the middle of a piece of paper. And on the left-hand side, you're going to list everything about your job that positively aligns with each value. Mm-hmm. And on the right-hand side, you're going to list everything about your job that doesn't align or is in obstruction of you living those values. Okay. And for everything that's positive, you give yourself a +1. And for everything that's negative, you give yourself a -1. And what happens is, figuring out your core values is emotional, and having to look through your job and your experience right now in life and actually write the positive and the negative things down is emotional. Mm-hmm. But the numbers are logical. You can't lie with a negative number. You can't go, oh, I'll just add another positive thing in here. It's either positive or negative, right? So at the end of this exercise, what you have is a positive or negative alignment, not only with each individual value, but an overall alignment with your top 5 values. So let's say your overall alignment number is negative. That means on the whole, your job is negatively aligned with the 5 most important things in your life. And just sit with that for a second.
Yeah, that's pretty heavy, actually.
Right. And you can't argue with it because it's emotional. Yes. And you can argue with emotions. That's why I want you to shift to the logical, which is the numbers. You can't argue with the numbers. So what this helps people do, I think, and it certainly helps me every time I feel out of alignment in my own business, like I'm in a cage of my own making and I got to fix it, which happens from time to time when you just, it's just because you got to show up. You got to do the things you don't necessarily want to do. You got to make money because you're a business. And sometimes that requires you living outside of your genius zone for a hot minute because you're the owner and who else is going to do it, right? So that's fine if it's a season, but if it's systemic, if it's becoming part of your everyday and you've been living this for 6 months, a year, 2 years, it's not likely going to go away anytime soon. Right. So this alignment for me as an owner of a business, and hopefully for you listening as an employee or a business owner, a potential business owner, maybe you want to become an entrepreneur, maybe you just want to have a job you love, you're going to be able to look at your current situation and say, this is exactly what's missing. And this is exactly what's working. So that you don't have to throw the baby out with the bathwater. Maybe like you love the people you work with. And so having a great culture and having a great community is really important to you. But what you're working on all day is wildly uninspiring. You don't feel challenged. Your subject matter is boring. You're not curious about it anymore. And people used to seek out your opinion, but now like you're just not showing up in the same powerful way. And so they don't anymore.
You're getting tapped for a promotion or a raise.
There you go.
There you go. Projects or
Yeah. You can only hide for so long. That's what I tell people. So this should give you an opportunity to objectively look at your situation and figure out what's missing. And if you're negatively aligned overall with your top 5 core values, I would offer that that's a huge gut check moment and a good reason to commit and go all in, not to leaving, not to taking a pay cut, not to, all the things that are scary, but to committing to leveling up and committing to yourself that you are inherently more valuable than you're showing up as right now.
Right, right. And somebody just tuned in from Canada. Hi, Amin.
Hey!
Nice to see you. And Phil is tuning in from Cypress, Texas. Lovely to see all of you. And now, all of you tuning in, what would you say, just off the cuff? Of course, she's given us a great process. Tracy has given us an amazing process to understand. And it is because I'm a process gal.
Well, it's so simple, right? You just need a process because it's looking at it globally is too much. It's overwhelming. Like, should I go or should I stay? Well, like, with what data do I make this decision? It's, you need data, you need facts, you need logic, and you need to be emotionally invested in the process. So yeah, what question were you going to ask her?
So for those of you tuning in, and again, we haven't had a chance yet to go through the whole process, but would you say that you're aligned positively or negatively with your career trajectory? And even if you're in a transitional space, which is perfectly fine, and that happens to a lot of us, and nothing wrong with that. But think of your career overall as a whole, and what you want to do or what you feel like you want to do. So here's the interesting thing, and I say this quite often. People will come to me and say, well, I feel like I should do such and such. And I'll say, okay, great. I hear that you feel like that you should do something. Is that a feeling from inside of you, or is that an imposition from outside of you? And they're like, oh, well, now that you put it like that, it's really expectations. I got to put kids through college, or maybe my, friends, family, social structure really expects me to do X, Y, or Z. Like a young man I was coaching for quite some time, he just really wanted to make more money. He was like, I want to make all the money. I want to be in a leadership position. It's like, okay. And that is directly against all your core values is just expressed to me. So how are you going to show up powerfully to do what you want in the current career path you're in to make said money, if making said money requires you to throw away all your core values?
We call that unsustainable in my business.
Unsustainable. Long term, you will burn out. You will be miserable. You will be a shell of a person. I like that phrase, by the way. And why do we want this clarity? Well, it's not just for the tactical side of finding a new job or what have you. It truly is, if you're to show up more powerfully as an individual, as a professional, in your space, whatever space that is for you, industry, career path. And I think most of us want to find some level of fulfillment, particularly leveling up to a point where we feel like, yes, I'm being paid for what I'm worth, and I'm not being stretched too thin. Right. Good luck, by the way, for doing that for a little while, because everybody's running pretty lean. But you can always find that. And how can I say that you can always find that? It's because if you're very clear with your trajectory and what makes your heart sing. I know that sounds fluffy, but trust me, your mindset drives your career growth and your success more than anything else really will. So someone said from LinkedIn, and I apologize, LinkedIn's not sharing me your name. I was positively aligned. Then with a reorganization and new management, I'm now aligned negatively. That happens. Processes was removed from my management, told it was a good thing for me to focus on other areas, but I'm being more and more removed from the table. So no longer an alignment. And that happens quite often. Maybe we started an engagement with an organization. We felt like we were connected. Now we're not. Tracy, for this individual, what would you say would be a great first step?
Okay. So first of all, let's just acknowledge that, let's say COVID, right, is like a global example of what this person is going through no fault of your own and via nothing that you necessarily did wrong or showed up in misalignment or whatever. Life's uncertainty has happened to you, and now you have to course correct. So I would say first and foremost, what we have to adopt is a mindset of ownership and responsibility. Because no matter what happens to you in life, and this is so hard to swallow, and I hate it. I hated the first time somebody tried to tell me this. I'm like, no, sometimes bad things just happen and I get to be upset about it. Well, listen, you can do that, but nothing is going to change in your life, right? We have to own and take responsibility for everything that happens to maintain any semblance of control and remain in the driver's seat of our own career. Okay. So let's say this scenario has happened to you, which clearly it has. And so now you're out of alignment with your core values. It's highly likely that that scenario is also causing the ripple effect of you not being able to show up fully, meaning you used to be adding more value than you're adding right now. So the way that I think that it's most powerful to advocate for the scenario where we can add more value is to know, A, the value that we add. So in no uncertain terms, the true professional value that makes up who you are. Mm-hmm. And to know the scenarios which allow you to live and display that value fully. Because you can't just go like complain. It's not a powerful, you could, but you're probably not going to get anywhere. What we forget is that, and it's so easy, right? Like I'm not in your situation. And so I'm just sort of speaking from in generalities, but basically what most people will do is go complain. My boss changed this or that, it's all out of my control, yada, yada. What I would encourage you to do is go back to the basics of how you add value as a professional at your maximum level. So Aaron would call it strengths, I think. There's also a couple more components that your expertise. In the Nth Degree, which I wrote about in Unstoppable, we call this your nature and your nurture. So if you deeply understand your nature, that's strengths, it's behaviors, it's motivations, it's personality, and how those things, those puzzle pieces about you add value professionally. And then you also understand what we call your nurture, which is the opposite side of the same coin. So what have I learned or earned that also adds value? And Aaron, you're nodding, this, it's your expertise, it's your cumulative experiences, it's your education, right? All that stuff, knowledge, skills, right, etc. If you can put those puzzle pieces together, that's your maximum sort of like true best and highest value as a professional. So you have to be able to say that and articulate that clearly and confidently to advocate for the work that you want to do. Because then the next level is, okay, what are the conditions that allow you to live that true value? So it's much more powerful to go to a boss, a leader, and say, this is the maximum value I have to add to this organization. And these are the conditions which allow me to add it. We need to make a change because I'm not being of best and highest value right now for what you're paying me. And that's a much more value-driven conversation than I'm unhappy. I don't like my new boss. I'm not aligned with my new team. My values aren't being met. Nobody wants to hear that. They want to hear you've identified a place in the business where you can add more value to the top, bottom line, et cetera, remove cost, whatever it is. They're going to fall over giving you what you need to be more valuable without having to pay you more. Or they're going to figure out a scenario where, oh, it's this job. And by the way, that comes with a salary increase and happy days. So what I've found is like, we just had this girl graduate from our 30-day sort of breakthrough clarity program. And part of their graduation is that they have a 90-day plan that they're going to go execute out in the world to actually turn their vision into their reality. And she was able to so confidently and articulately share her value that she leapfrogged a job. So she went from like the one she had to thinking she wasn't really even ready for the next one to taking this job at her dream company. And she got multiple competing offers within 2 weeks of graduating. This is so crazy. During COVID, this just happened like a couple weeks ago.
That's awesome.
Isn't that amazing? And it's because she knew how to share this massive value add that she was, and she knew what her values were. So she knew the kind of company she wanted to be at. She knew the kind of work that she wanted to do and the kind of people she wanted to be around. And so she was able to get a $14,000 raise, now switch companies to her dream company, and negotiate for more flexibility in her schedule and better benefits. Where I was like, oh my God, you're the best testimony of all time, because she's living in her power and she can articulate that well. So I would recommend to this person who wrote that in, you got to put yourself back in the driver's seat by reminding yourself of the facts. What makes you an incredible value add? Why and how do you add value in a business? And what's keeping you from doing that right now, such that if you were to advocate for a different situation, a different set of conditions, let's say, in your day-to-day, what do you need to get back to adding that value? And that's what you advocate for.
Right. And that's so true, because so many people are like, oh, I'm out of here. Bye.
I know.
I just go to a different job.
I know.
And know that sometimes that's an inevitable scenario.
Sometimes that's the right answer. Yeah.
However, I would encourage you to entertain that you might be able to, unless you're just totally done with your current scenario, you might be able to level up within the organization you're currently with. Unless there's some compelling reason why you need to seek opportunities elsewhere. For example, they're going into bankruptcy. Okay, great. You're out of here.
Yeah.
See you later.
There are conditions and there are objections.
Right. So when you are able, I mean, even if that's the inevitable scenario and you're looking for a new role somewhere else fulfilling, if you are able to articulate that value proposition, that value statement, and know the conditions where you are able to live your whole self, your whole being, yeah, you interview a heck of a lot better. For starters, you're much more confident. You're able to communicate your competencies, your expertise, your credentials, that ROI, which decision makers are looking for. So, and David shared, he's like, I should have done this years ago. I'm most likely be in a better place today.
Huzzah!
There's no time like the present, David.
That is true.
Always do that.
As sort of cliche as it sounds, it's never too late. Like I truly believe at the end of every day, I go back to, we're here for a reason. I deeply think that since we spend so much time in our careers, that could be your vehicle for that reason. It could be your vehicle for that impact. And if you're still alive, that means that there's probably still more work to do. There's still more impact to make. There's still more people to serve. So to do it now, you're not pot committed.
It's funny, I have people coming to me, they're 55, 60 plus, looking to have their second life, basically, or second career. And now I want to do what I want to do. I've done all this stuff. I want to do what I want to do. I want to be fulfilled. I want to give back, whatever that looks like.
Same for us.
It happens all the time. So just know that.
Yeah, we just had a 65-year-old graduate. And the funny part about this, Erin, this is so ironic. So this guy and I are actually friends, and he came to me as a potential business partner, wanted to make an investment, wanted to take over part of the business, would probably have taken over a significant portion of equity. And so we're in this navigation period, right? We're like we're engaged before we get married, so to speak, professionally. And he goes through the program because he's like, well, I don't want to invest in this if I haven't done it myself, right? And so, irony of all ironies, he finishes the program, has more clarity than ever, and is like, this isn't the right fit for what I want to, the amount of influence he wanted to have, the amount of sort of hands-on or not he wanted to be, the impact he wanted to have in this bonus career. And so he was able to, and he articulated this so beautifully. He's like, sometimes it's harder to say no to an opportunity because of the things that you love about it. Like, he's like, I love working with you. You have so much energy. I love this program. I love the impact it's having on people. It's just not the right role and opportunity and fit for me. And he had so much clarity that he could confidently walk away. Was he sad about it? Like, yeah, we were both bummed, but both of us knew that he was making the right choice for both of us. Because if he were to say yes and go down that road, I would have eventually been the beneficiary of him being in the wrong place. You know what I mean? Like, it would have deeply negatively impacted him and me and the business. And so it was the right decision for everybody. Honestly, it was, like I said, it was so ironic because in one breath I was like, well, crap, I just lost a potential business partner. And then in the other breath, I was like, this works, like this helps people make really hard choices easier.
And if you're tuning in or watching the replay later and you're thinking to yourself, yeah, I really don't, I'm not fulfilled about what I do, but I love who I work with. I love the culture and I don't want to leave them. Or you have quitting guilt and you're like, oh man, if I leave, then so-and-so is going to have to do blah, 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 blah.
Love that, quitting guilt.
Okay. Well, just think of it like this. If you're in misalignment, are you able to show up 100% and actually give the value you need to those people you work with that you care about, or the organization as a whole, and most importantly for your long-term career growth and fulfillment, your potential opportunities are suffering.
Yeah.
So if
I want to double down on what you just said, Erin, if you don't mind, which is what Erin and I are talking about right now is not living a mediocre career, right? It's not sort of getting by. It's not surviving. It's not, oh, I like this, and this about my job, but I tolerate 50%, 60%, even 30% of your day. If you're having to tolerate more than 15 to 20% of the stuff you do in a given week, I would venture to say that you're out of alignment enough that you could be doing more. But what it requires is that you want to do more, that you want to have an extraordinary career experience, that you want to be adding maximum value. That doesn't matter to you. You're watching the wrong show, I think. Right? You know what I'm saying? Like if somebody's cool, like, I work to live, I make enough money, it serves the rest of my life, I have no desire to have more fulfillment. You're not go somewhere else, right? You're not, and we want to serve, but we want to serve the people who are like, I want to live lights out. I want to have finances, freedom, and fulfillment and flexibility. I want to have it all. And I think too often,
I want to unlock my potential.
Yes, right. I think too often people think they can't have it all, but frankly, it goes all the way back to values, right? It's that you think you want too many things, and you haven't gotten clear on actually what moves the needle for you.
You said it. We want too many things. And this is very true. And I'll get on the soapbox for 2 minutes and I'll
do it. I want to see it. I want to hear it. It's usually me.
So you can have more influence, more impact, more income. You can have all the things. You can have, like my friend Kurt Mercadante, you can have a freedom lifestyle, right? You can. Here's the thing. If you are not absolutely 110% clear on your values and your needs, not your wants. I didn't say the word want. I said needs. Then you will struggle to see that. And here's the thing. We've been brainwashed since we're very, very little people into things that we should want. And I have a funny story for you. So there was this young lady. She was the daughter of a missionary couple who lived on a very tiny island in Hawaii. And comparatively to the income scale of that island, they were very wealthy. So she grew up thinking she was wealthy. Right? They had an actual roof over their head. Being serious.
There you go. Yeah.
Very poverty-stricken area, and she grew up thinking she was wealthy. So she went to college in the States. And when she got to the States, it was a major culture shock. I mean, can you imagine all the stuff we have? Like we drive several cars, we have several houses, we have all the things. I go back to my townhome in Houston and look at this giant closet full of clothes that I don't wear. What am I doing? So anyway, moving on. So she learned very quickly that there was a huge, you had to have a car. I mean, to be have a status symbol as an American, you had to have a car. So in college. So she was going to college full time and then working full time practically to pay for this car.
Wow.
And she, after at work one day, she looked out the window and she's like, gosh, it's such a beautiful day. I'd be out there enjoying it and having fun if it wasn't here. And then she looked out and saw a car and she realized she was there because she had to support the car that she couldn't drive because she was working.
Isn't that the best? Once you catch yourself in the ass backwards catch 22 that you've wriggled yourself into, you're like, what am I doing?
So you can probably guess where this story goes.
I love
she quit her job, she sold the car, and she's very happy. But she started really, I think she started teaching I think she became a coach, in fact, and really started, focusing on what are our priorities and where are we really living to our true values and living to the maximum potential of ourselves? Or are we handcuffed to this ideal that's been given to you, been shoved upon you. How many people have gone to college to get a degree in something that they don't like because someone well-meaning said, well, you can't make money being, I don't know,
Yes.
an
Oh my
artist
God.
or a
Yes.
musician or whatever, right? You have to be an accountant. And then they come see us later on and go, I hate what I do.
Yeah, but it's all I've done and it's all I have a degree in, and now I feel pigeonholed and I'm backed into a corner and I'd have to start from scratch. So I have to go back to school. Yeah, like it's this, snowball of from the one decision.
Mm-hmm. Right. Yeah. But here's the thing, is our lives are a very evolutionary process.
Totally.
So let's not get too attached to this ideal that we're going to, I don't know, get an education, get certifications, follow that career path to infinity and beyond.
It's not linear anymore, friends. It's just not.
It is a very evolutionary thing, and that's perfectly fine. Mm-hmm. And that's good. You should always be evolving as a human being. In fact, the day you don't is a very sad day.
Can I tell you a story my business coach shared with me? She likes to think of our professional and sort of, psychological evolution of awareness and whatever throughout life like this. And I think this is the best thing I've ever heard. So basically in any journey, you start out as like you version, let's say sub-zero in this case. And you look out in your life and you then have like goal sub-zero, right? This is me right now. This is the goal that I'm thinking of. And so if you really buy into this evolution idea, what happens is you don't just progress towards this goal and stay the same. You actually become you, like version sub-1. And so now you version sub-1 with this new awareness and experience is probably looking at goal sub-zero and going, nah, it's not that anymore. It's this, right? It's goal sub-1. Mm-hmm. And then you progress towards it, right? And you get closer and closer. And then do you stay the same? No, you evolve and you become like you version sub-2. And you version sub-2 is going, well, now I got to come up with a new, right? And so what's cool is if you're doing that with intention, mm-hmm. then what it feels like is this constant evolutionary spiral up. Right? We're growing, we're becoming a better, more aware, more in tune, more valuable, version of ourselves.
Absolutely.
Do it reactionarily. Don't you always feel like you never hit your goals? Don't you always feel disappointed? Yes. Don't you always feel like, oh, I set out to do this?
Can I share with you? Okay. So I was thinking this morning, I was like, gosh, I have come so far as a human being.
Oh, I love
Looking back, I'm dead serious.
Those moments where you're, wow, I do this thing. Yeah.
No tears. There's no crying in career coaching.
No crying in baseball.
But I have come so far as a human being because when you look back, and I was thinking about this because originally when you started your organization, you're like, I'm going to serve young emerging professionals. And you realize, but there's a lot more people that need clarity than that. And why is it it's not just young emerging professionals? So when I was a young emerging professional, I thought I knew everything and I didn't know anything. And I'm looking back at it. And I'm not saying this to make anybody feel bad. That's not the point. It's just that there's so much more richness and depth. And that when you're able to open up to that organic process and that evolution, that constant pursuit of being your ultimate being, unlocking that potential for yourself, you are unstoppable.
Preach, friend. Preach. I wish I could go back and tell my 22-year-old self, like, by the way, friend, everyone knows you don't know anything. You think you need to look like you know everything? God bless you. They all know. They all know. Everybody knows. Everyone older than you knows you don't know shit. They just know. So stop pretending. You're such a...
okay. And it's okay. You know what? And it's okay.
Not only okay.
Thing for me was to ask for help.
It's totally fair.
But share something on LinkedIn and it's not showing up in my feed. So I actually went to my phone.
Okay.
Hey, we have technology. And Michelle said I was aligned positively then with a reorganization and new management. Oh, okay. So you did share that. Okay. It was Michelle who shared that. Thank you, Michelle, for sharing that. Now I know who shared it. I don't know. I don't know about this thing. Normally I get stuff. Sometimes I don't.
It's all good. I was trying to pull it up on my phone too, so maybe I could help out with the comments, but I got nothing. I am so not tech savvy. And you know what? That's
Thank you,
fine.
Michelle.
I'm human savvy. That's my gifting.
Yeah. So, any of you have any questions? Because we've shared a lot of pretty deep stuff, and I'm amazed that we've already gone 49 minutes.
I know. Isn't it fun though?
I know
I always
it's
just
fun.
love the meeting of the minds that these things are, because like I think about it all day, and then I talk to people who have so many. It's sad, but so many limiting beliefs. And I used to live in that world. I can't, I couldn't, what are they going to think? And like,
or come up with all the reasons why, or
yeah,
and something very legitimate. Okay, there are some very legitimate reasons why. And here's the thing. I have a story I'll share with you, and then we'll wrap up with any questions. So if you have any questions about anything, comments, whatever,
please seriously ask us.
We want to answer. We want to engage with you.
We love to wax philosophical, but we'd rather answer your questions.
We're not just here to hear ourselves talk, believe it or not. So, there's a friend of mine, and she's a single mom, and she worked for a major operator for many years, and something that she basically hated doing for people that she basically hated working with.
Horrible.
And she did it because she's a single mom. She had to put herself in college. They laid her off after 30 years of service. They laid her off. This was in 2017. First
30 years?
After 30 years of service, she got the axe. She had a nervous and mental breakdown.
Wouldn't you?
Because she lived so long for a career, and particularly in America, we define ourselves so much by what we do.
Yeah, we do.
Right. And understanding there's a self and there's what you do is not necessarily the same thing. Okay. But it broke her. It broke her because she put so much energy into something that was just seemed like a waste.
My heart.
So, but we do that to ourselves, and sometimes with all the best intentions. Okay, fair? So I would encourage you to challenge those negative, limitations that you have, or even the things you think are good limitations, or whatever those are. Challenge them, really challenge them, and think: is there another way?
Yeah.
Once I know my values, once I've done that process, Tracy shared with me, understand what the top 5 are, and I know that I'm misaligned. Can I find alignment? Let's see. Gerald shared with us. He said, "Thank you for this session. I have 7 kids in various stages of life." Woo! Gerald, you're awesome.
Thank you for populating the world.
I can't imagine. Oh,
I'm Catholic. I'm like, bring it. Let's go. I'm also an only child, so like I'm fascinated by large families. I think it's just great.
I grew up as a quasi only child, and it's
it is
hard.
what it is.
It's hard. It's actually hard.
Yeah, it's really why Erin and I are out here. We're hanging our own shingles and doing our own things. Like I've had to be independent my whole life. But okay, I can't wait for these 7 various stages of life children to get our insight.
Absolutely.
It gets everybody differently, based on what phase you're in. And I think that's been one of my biggest learnings, is that the person that we serve the best is not a demographic. They're a deep psychographic, right? They're in a place of transition. They're seeking a strategy. They've decided, I can't wait any longer. Whether it has to do with age, or whether it has to do with burnout, or whether it has to do with mental health, or whatever it is, it's like, this cannot continue. And like your friend, my heart just hurts for that scenario, because I think a lot of us do that. We stick around thinking we're doing the safe thing or the secure thing, not realizing that the rug can be ripped out from under us at any time. Right. And the only way, I think, to combat that is remember that ownership and responsibility mindset, but you've got to have clarity individually to ever feel in control and remain in the driver's seat. You have to. Like, let's say, God forbid, something happens to my business tomorrow and I've got to let all my people go and start over from scratch, theoretically, right? You know what I would do? I'd go right back to my own process. I'd figure out my now, my nature, and my nurture. I'd do a niche crafting process on myself. And then I would go advocate for that one thing. Where am I going to add maximum and highest value? And I'm a great storyteller in a sense that, like, I can make a narrative out of almost anything. So I don't even fear making a narrative out of a failed business, because you know what I've done for the last 6 years? Put food on the table for myself successfully for 6 years and served hundreds of people and worked with hundreds of organizations. And so even if you feel like deviating right now, it may end in failure. It may end up, eating crow, or, you've got, what do they call it? Like, you got something on your face, dirt on your face, whatever. Imagine the story you could tell, even if it didn't work out.
And imagine what you could learn.
Yeah, that's what I mean.
A lot you learn from failure.
So much. And to just categorize this, like, let's say, like I said, God forbid, I want this business to just gangbusters from here. But if it doesn't, my life is not over. My career's not over, because I have so much.
A circumstance does not define you as an individual. Always remember that.
Unless you let it.
Unless you let it. It does not brand you for life.
Yeah. And gosh, I mean, having had the courage to go do the thing you want to do and putting all the work into it and all the effort and the ethic that goes into that and the proactivity and those are things a business wants in a person, right? So I think you've got to take your shot. I think you've got to do it. If there's something holding you back, call someone like us to get your ass in gear, to get off the fence. Like, we'll help you look at that thing and go, friend, is this really a thing? Or is this fear wrapped in that thing? Is this your dad's opinion from 20 years ago wrapped in that thing? Is it, what is it? And let someone like Erin, let someone like me or one of my team members help you really see it with more objective eyes. It's going to help.
Yeah, it will help. It will help you, long term, because this is what I challenge people to do. Just imagine yourself at the fruition of your life. If you're struggling with this, should I really do it or not? Or should I just plow forward and 3 to 5?
She's going with the death, guys. Listen up.
Oh, yeah. I'm going deep. So I'm going along here, people.
Yep.
So imagine yourself at the fruition of your life and you're looking back over it. What do you want to say that you've accomplished? Gosh, I showed up every day at work for 35 years, 40 years. What? No. But if that's your idea of being your fullest you, your fullest expression of who you are and your potential, then great, absolutely. But I'd argue to say maybe not. And what else? Can you challenge yourself? Can you own your impact? Can you own the fact that you flipping matter to this world and you have something to give to it?
I really believe that we do. And I know, like, if you're out there and going, side eye and questioning it, we do sound cheesy. It's our job. Like, to have the confidence that others don't, to have the certainty that others don't, because we see it day in and day out. I mean, Erin, you could probably tell as many amazing success stories of people who came in and said, my biggest fear is that I'll never have work that I love, that pays what I'm worth. And then X amount of time later, even if it's 6 months later, that's this much in your career. That's this much in your life and your impact, right? It's worth it
right now.
Exactly. That's what I mean. Like, our clients are like 2 weeks later, 4 weeks later, 6 weeks later, getting their dream jobs. Even let's say it takes 6 months, but you're finally living and doing your soul's work. Like, everybody around you is going, wow, I can't believe we found you. You were like made for this job. We're so lucky to have you. And you can be yourself all day, every day.
I know.
Right. Like, even if it takes a little bit of money and even if it takes a little bit of time, isn't that worth it? Like, I get so jazzed about this because it's just worth it. It's so worth it.
And you're tuning in right now. We want to make sure that you do grab, I think Tracy has some some interesting insights on her website. So that is in the description of the event.
Yeah.
Grab that. And if you're tuning in later, please do put your comments or questions in the chat. We will see them when we get back to you. Whether you're tuning in from LinkedIn or YouTube or later on other social media channels, we'll be happy to answer them. And she's got a book coming out next week.
It's 1 week away. Go to unstoppablecareerbook.com and pre-order this puppy. I'm so excited. And I'm sitting on like a couple thousand of them in my apartment. So like, you got to buy it. You got to buy it.
Got to get it out of her apartment.
That's a lie. It's actually at my mom's house. So we got to get it out of there. She's like, are you kidding me? 50 boxes of books. So we gotta circle the wagons on this one.
But ladies and gentlemen, let me tell you what, having clarity about where you want to go in your career it does make you unstoppable, because whether, like I mentioned before, whether you are thinking about making a career pivot, really super important for that, by the way. Being able to make that with clarity and confidence, and being able to sit there in front of an interview, in front of a camera or whatever, and you're being able to express yourself in a way that's your authentic you. So heck yeah, you're going to stand out a lot more than other candidates. Well, what if you want to up-level your career and go for a promotion? If you know and can understand and articulate that message, you're much more likely to get what you're looking for. So Jesse, Hugh, thank you for tuning in. Gail, thank you for tuning in. All of you, thank you for tuning in this morning. Tracy, it's been a deep pleasure. Is there any parting comments?
Man, Erin, I love your approach. I feel like you and I are so aligned. And what's fun about this to me is we're a great example of my idea of abundance, because it could be so easy for two people like us to think, oh, well, we're in competition. We certainly can't promote one another. We can't, share our views or whatever. And so if you're out there and you're thinking, why me? Or, somebody else must have done this already, or why would they pick me? There's nothing special about the way I do it, or you're questioning your value, as a professional and your uniqueness and those things. Let us be a great example of the abundance of this world and the reality that the people who are going to resonate with the way I do this are maybe not going to resonate with the way Erin does it, and vice versa. And that's great. Exactly, because we get to serve the people that we're best set up to serve. So it's worth it for you to explore what your true and unique value is as a professional, because of the impact you're going to have on a set of people that nobody is serving right now, in whatever capacity, whether you're a coach, whether you're a business owner, whether you're a 9-to-5er, whether you're a teacher, whatever it is, there's nobody doing it exactly the way you would do it right now.
That's right.
And you owe it to them and yourself to go do that thing. So just be encouraged, be inspired, feel hopefully from this conversation, not like we're sort of beating you over the head with like, go do all these things. Get excited about the opportunity you have to have more influence and impact and income and live unstoppable. See what I did there?
I see what you did there. On that note, it's been a deep pleasure, as always, having all of you tune in. And if you have any questions for Tracy, I'm sure she'll be happy to answer them. You can reach out to her directly on LinkedIn or through her website. As always, this is Erin Urban with Career Coffee Chat. Ta-ta for now. See you next week.